This right here, this is the episode that might help you improve your skill level so dramatically over the next 6 months or the next year. Very important that you guys are here. Let's jump straight in. One of the most common things that I hear from people as they're building up in this sport, they're trying to get from that beginner level to the intermediate level up to the advanced level, trying to climb that slope, and they go, I just feel like I hit this blocking point where things are not working as well as I want. I try to remember to do this correctly, but at the same time I'm trying to think about how to do this correctly, and then I'm trying to think about how I was doing that incorrectly, and it's too much. Your brain goes into overdrive and you're going to feel like you just are not making the progress you deserve for the hard work you're putting in. What is the answer? I'm going to give that to you guys in this episode. How do I know it works? Number one, it's how I got better. It was basically a self-discovery in how you improve your skill level. And then number two, as an instructor, I've used it on so many people when they come in to do private lessons with me. We drill the exact same way that I trained and people go, wow, my skill level just skyrocketed. So here we go. But first, I have to remind everybody that my defense course is now available again for you to purchase. We had it earlier in 2024. It had a live segment to it, so there was a close-off date. I've had so many people message saying, Gabriel, when can I get in this defense course again? Now you can. There's a link down below. Head over to Varga Combat and pick up my 30+ videos where we talk about partner drills, solo training, aspects of how I won these belts, how to minimize damage, how to take shots. The list just goes on and on. You're gonna love this course. So what I want you guys to understand when we're talking about progression and not wanting to plateau as we continue to work and try to improve our skills, if we always focus on all the things we're doing wrong and we try to do them all at once, let's say in a sparring session or a bag work session, it's too much. So how did I personally go about improving my weaknesses while still feeling good when I'm training? Because the reality is if you go, I'm doing this wrong, and then you're trying to think about all of them, you're trying to execute, maybe every time you jab, you drop your hand, but then you're trying to remember to pivot correctly, and you're trying to think about defense, you get run down. We need to go into a positive mindset where we go, what am I good at? But while we're doing what we're good at, focusing on one or two elements of what we're negative at. But how do we get this section of where we feel like, oh, okay, I'm good at these things and they're not going to draw away from me focusing on what we're going to be going is my negative aspects? Very simple. One word answer for you, flow. You have to be able to enter a flow state where you don't think too much about what you're doing. When you start off, let's say for instance, the first week where you were in class and you were learning to jab, and the instructor comes over and he says, every time you jab, you're dropping your hand. So you start, okay, hand tight, hand tight, hand tight. And after a week, 2 weeks, a month, you probably don't have to think about this anymore. It just stays there. And that is when we start entering what I'm going to call this flow state, where we can throw our punches and our hands automatically come back to our head, but we don't have to actively think about it. If I told you initially, as you're struggling keeping your hands up, to bring your hands back to your head, but do something else, chances are it's going to overwhelm you. So we want to go, okay, here's what I'm good at. And you should already recognize that. You should know 2 or 3 things that you're exceptionally good at. Train those, focus on those, continue to improve them. But if you only do that, your skill level is not going to rise as fast as you want. We have to address the negatives. So my general concept that I want to share with you guys today is find out what you're best at. And then just get into that flow state where you go, okay, I can throw all this stuff. I don't have to really think about it, but I want to work on catching kicks because I'm just not good at it. So you add that in. You're flowing along. You're like, okay, I'm doing my thing. Kick comes, oh, catch. Back to flowing along. I get my movement around. Oh, the kick comes, catch. And we start incorporating this ability to flow, but add in tiny elements of things where we struggle. And this is how we avoid plateauing. Because if you take on too much, you're going to get frustrated. you're gonna eventually probably have some sort of meltdown where you're just like, I'm not good at this. And that's not the case. You're just approaching it in a way that I don't recommend. Don't take on too much. We don't want all these things on our mind, but we also don't want to be like, yeah, I'm so good and I'm just focusing on this little area where I'm awesome. Focus on this, bring in one negative thing, and bit by bit, your flow, your bubble is going to get bigger and bigger. You're going to be able to do more and more in there where you don't really have to think about it. And then we get to the point where people ask me, okay, when you spar or when you fight, what are you doing? How much are you thinking? And it's that balance between, yes, I'm in a very much flow state, but I'm not 100% in that state because I'm trying to remember, okay, this guy has a really awesome overhand. Keep this hand up, be ready for it. When I finish my combo, make sure my hand's up, be ready to roll if necessary, but flowing on everything else. So this concept not only works for in the gym, but it also works for when you fight. I cannot recommend it enough. I think you guys are really gonna like it if you try and implement it into your training. Start with one element of something you bring into your flow, and then you can maybe bring in two. And then all of a sudden you might get so good at those that they are part of what you can do without thinking. This is my little trick that I figured out on my own, which has helped me as an instructor and obviously as a fighter. So that's all, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. As always, train hard. I will see you back here soon for another video. As most of you guys know, gloves break down or they start getting really smelly, and in my experience, you have to replace them somewhere between every 12 to 24 months. If you are in the market for a new set of gloves or shin pads, XMartial now has some fantastic gear. Just started using these the other day, love them. The shin pads, I've had them now for I think about 18 months, holding up strong, keeping my shin safe, not breaking down. And by watching this video, you can save yourself 10% using my promo code Gabriel Varga. There's a link down below. Head over to XMartial and get yourself your next pair of gloves.